cheating, sexual misconduct, and sort of the antithesis of or the opposite of the five precepts, those unwholesome actions, impure actions that bring the suffering. And so you can see that very easily, if not in your own life, certainly, if you read the news and look around, the whole world is caught in this. And that's really the nature of the conditioned world. And it's because people have lost the touch with the pure Dhamma, or lost that connection to what we call truth awareness, the real nature of the mind. Most people are not interested in the mind too much. They give lip service to it, but they haven't fully understood it. Even psychologists, they might understand the mind a little bit, but usually they'll just give you pills and drugs in order to suppress your anger or other mental conditions, and not really get to the essence of it, not really get to the truth of it. So, but the Buddha was somebody who fully understood the nature of mind and consciousness in all of its levels, because he was a mental scientist. But most of this modern world is interested in the physical world, not the mental world. They're interested in who or what and when this physical earth was created. When was the Big Bang, the exact point in time or space the Big Bang happened, and the universe was created, as it was something important. May or may not be really important. But what about the mind? The Buddha was interested in the Big Bang of consciousness. When did ego consciousness erupt? How did ego consciousness arise? How did the attachment to pleasure and pain, and the addiction to pleasure and pain arise? That's what the Buddha was interested in. How does suffering arise? Because suffering arises from not understanding the truth, from living out of harmony with nature. Nature says that everything is continual change and flux, and is changing and fluxing due to the past momentum of karma and evolution, not necessarily controlled by one certain person somewhere in an imagined world or so. Anyway, that's what we're in the practice of Dhamma. The Dhamma, and especially the practice of meditation, is about learning how to cultivate the tools, the mental tools, even the physical tools that will allow you to reconnect with awareness, reconnect with the truth about the mind. So, the ignorance, it's, you've probably heard the word ignorance a lot. But ignorance doesn't mean, if somebody fails a Jeopardy quiz, they say, oh, you're ignorant. But that's not ignorance from the Buddhist point of view. Ignorance means not understanding the nature of the mind and consciousness. Ignorance means not understanding the nature of suffering, the cause of suffering, how suffering can be gradually transcended, and a more stable state of harmony and inner equilibrium and happiness to be directly reconnected with. It's not that we've never really been totally disconnected from it. We're still connected to it on an unconscious level, but on a conscious level we've been disconnected because there are absorption in the past and future and craving pleasurable and painful sensations. So the practice of meditation is learning how to regain your balance Actually, it's interesting. Meditation comes from the same root word as medicine, M-E-D-I, which also has the implication of the middle, or like a mediator. So the meditation, medicine, and mediation all come from the same root, has the same root meaning of something in the middle. So we call medicine is the balance between sickness and health. A mediator mediates disputes between warring parties and trying to bring them to amicable resolutions. And meditation is the balance between ignorance and wisdom. So basically it's a healing. So meditation is the medicine that heals the mind, really. Heals the mind of ignorance and allows us to reconnect with the natural wisdom that's there within awareness, in the deepest levels of concentrated awareness. It's like learning to look into an atom, so to speak. So a scientist, or you look at a piece of, you have a piece of fingernail, you look at it from the outside and it just looks like a fingernail. But when a scientist puts it under a microscope, he doesn't see a fingernail anymore. He sees cells. If he turns the microscope up more, he sees molecules. If he turns it up more, he might see DNA. And then even atoms, protons, neutrons. And, even if they turn it up more, the whole atom may be smashed and sees emptiness. So in the same way, in meditation, we turn up the power of concentration. We learn to concentrate the mind, to keep it focused inside, not allowing it to go outside or not allowing it to go to sleep. And by doing that, it's like focusing a magnifying glass, the sun through a magnifying glass. And it produces heat to burn away the delusions of the mind and to see deeply into the nature of your own thoughts and so on, to be able to actually see where your thoughts come from and how they're conditioned. And more importantly, giving you the understanding of how you can change them. Because a lot of people know they have negative thoughts, but they don't know how to change them. Because they haven't been given the mental tools to change them. No one has taught us that. In most cultures, they don't value much meditation or this type of wisdom. Nothing is taught. So only in rare circumstances does a person have fortunate to come into contact with the Dhamma. Because normally most of the world is adhamma. That means they're against Dhamma and the truth and want to keep people contained within an aura of just their, be a good little citizen, do this, do that, obey the rules, and don't ask too many questions, and, live and have a family and enjoy TV and good food and die and don't worry about nothing. I mean, that's a very general simplification, of course, don't get me wrong, a generalization, but, somewhere in there, there's some truth to that. So, anyway, in the practice, at some point it comes in a person's life where they no longer just accept carte blanche all the things that were spoon-fed about the nature of life or truth. And so the natural truth within one starts to then come up. Or if you hear the Dhamma, You say, what was that? What? All actions are led by the mind? Mind? Wow, that's cool. Where'd that come from? You know, my 6th grade teacher didn't teach me that. Donald Trump didn't teach me that. Where'd that come from? So that contact, when you start to hear the Dhamma, whether you read it in a book or something, you know, there's some contact with the deeper truth that's already inside of you to hear something new and says, oh, I don't know where, but that sounds, you know, it sounds like something cool. So that's just, you know, one example of how people gradually come into contact with the Dhamma, and I may give some further talks on that the subject, you know, later on. But the main thing is that, so the practice of meditation really, again, it starts with the body. So meditation is a process of healing and regaining that balance, but it starts with learning to contact the present moment. And the Buddha taught this very clearly in what he called the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which starts with the body. Because as I mentioned this morning, the body is basically always in the present moment. It's just here. It's sitting, standing, walking, moving, eating, but it's doing those things basically in the present moment. But in between, our mind is running back and forth between the present moment because it's not, you know, it's not, hasn't learned to appreciate the present moment. And so it wants to obsess about the past or future, or just get distracted so easily, or the hindrances. So, you know, the main obstacles for meditation are what are called the 5 hindrances. Although to simplify it, I usually just talk about 3 in the beginning. Basically, it's physical pain, sleepiness, and just incessant thoughts. And these are what block the mind from developing concentration. So the hardest part in learning meditation is learning how to overcome those 3 basic hindrances. And sleep is the worst one. And so it comes on, maybe not sleep, but just a dullness of mind and a kind of fogginess, and the mind kind of just going in and out of this kind of state. You may not totally be sleeping, but this is like a thick fog has, you know, covered the mind. And that's because of so many factors that we've been cultivating in our life and environment and so on, and, you know, having the pollution and having to breathe or eat a lot of impure, polluted foods. All these things also can affect the body and mind. And I usually teach something about the body-mind connection. That the body affects the mind affects the body. And through the practice of mindfulness, we have to understand and we have to work on knowing what factors, the bodily factors, are contributing to mental type of unrest or so on. And also how the mind affects the body. And by working on the body and the mind together, then one ideally can reach a state of more integrated balance, a little bit quicker than, you know, if you just simply neglect one or the other. But anyway, basically, you know, the beginning phase of meditation is learning how to see, the body and mind have been disconnected. At the time of birth, they were basically connected. For 9 months in the baby, in the womb, the baby's mind was just there in the present moment, connected with the nervous system because the cells were expanding. And from 9 months, you go from a 1-cell organism to a multi-billion cell organism in the space of 9 months. I mean, that's a lot of energy happening there. But basically, it's, you know, happening in the present moment. And every cell in the body is said to have a kind of awareness. And it's connected to that web. But as I mentioned before, after the birth and when the baby starts to develop ego consciousness and start looking in the external world, it loses that present moment awareness. It's disconnected from the body, from the present moment. And that's really the beginning of suffering, because it's also the disconnection from truth and the vibration of awareness, wholeness, completeness. And we've lost the natural wisdom also. So for 9 months, this body developed by itself, all these marvelous, intricate, the most, we could say, intricate organism in the world. As of yet, we don't know, but, that there is. But it happened by itself. There was no supercomputer, causing the body to create itself, or doctors or anybody else. It's natural wisdom. The body knew how to heal itself. You cut yourself, the body knows how to stop the bleeding. You get a disease, the immune system kicks in and knows how to fight the diseases. But what's happened over time? Because of unskillful ways of living and so much pollution and not the right type of whatever exercise and other types of things, the body has become defective, has lost its ability, has lost that connection with natural truth. And so now if something goes wrong with us, we have to go to the doctor. Let him tell us what's wrong with us, rather than knowing what's wrong naturally, like the ancient people did. They go out and find herbs in the forest and, treat stuff. And now we're addicted to all this types of, man-made medicines that have their own complications and problems. So anyway, it's a very complex, the world and the body and mind have evolved over, basically millions of years. And so that's what we're fighting against. So anyway, I don't want to bore you with all that. But so the first step is learning how to reconnect to the present moment. And that's why the Buddha used the body, because the body is the most immediate and tangible thing we have in our experience. And it's always, in your face, so to speak. All the different sensations, especially pain, immediately, brings you to the body. So actually pain is a good thing in that sense that it helps you to stay more present in the moment and learn ways to deal with it. So that's why mindfulness of the body, the first step is just remembering the present moment. Mindfulness means to remember, but remember the present moment. Starting with the body. What is the body doing right now? Anybody can tell me? What is your body doing right now?
Listening.
What?
Listening. Sitting.
Your mind is listening.
Oh,
the body is sitting. There's sensations coming from your buttocks, or your feet, or your breath is there. These are natural sensations. And so the 4 postures, basically, the breathing and the 4 postures are what are the first objects of present moment awareness. So you become aware of breathing in and breathing out. But even the breathing in and breathing out is happening through the body posture. So the sitting posture is there, it's breathing in and out. Standing posture is there, breathing in and out. The walking or anything else you do. So basically this breathing body. Although you can focus on certain aspects of it, but generally remembering the present moment, that this body is sitting and breathing at any time in any place. And so that means getting centered. So learning to, it's like the mind is like a fish that's, swimming, been hooked. It's been hooked by a sense, a pleasurable object to look at, and it gets hooked, and the object is pulling it further and further, or the smell, or any other stimulation. So we've got to reel it back, through recognizing, the mind is wandering now. And so you try to let go of that object of what it is and bring it back to the body. Take a deep, slow breath. That's one of the best ways of bringing the attention to the body, is take a deep, slow breath, and it brings you right back to the present moment. And you try to then keep the mind there longer. So that's called concentration, the ability to keep the mind focused in the present moment. It's called concentration. And the longer you can do that without the mind running away or going to sleep, that will then change the whole vibration of one's consciousness. And also, when the mind is in the present moment, again, there's nothing to judge or compare or like or dislike. And so the mind immediately experiences a kind of an inner buoyancy, happiness. Because all problems are the problems of the past and future. Think of any problem that you have and see if it's not connected to the past or future, even just the next minute. You got a pain in your legs and you say, well, if the teacher goes on talking in 10 minutes, I'll wind up crippled. Well, you're thinking about the future and worrying about that. But if you were just to say, sensation, sensation, relax around it, not identify it as being me or my body, it's just a sensation, it still might be painful, but the struggling against it might ease a little bit. And you could be able to just observe it and, it's not that bad. It's only when the mind identifies with it and thinks of it as being me or mine, that's when the struggling ensues. But mindfulness is the kind of objectification, or the ability to objectively observe various sensations and thoughts without personally identifying with them or identifying with the objects that they are. So it's called the bare attention of just, oh yes, the body's sitting now. Or maybe you're starting to get upset and you just identify, upset. Okay, who's upset? It's just upset. Or it's just anger. Normally we think, I am angry. And I am angry at the object of the anger. That's what makes it worse. But when you learn to just simply be aware of, anger is there, greed is there, sadness is there, but without personally identifying with it, that knocks the sting out of it. And it's just seen as a kind of an empty thought. And it may stay a little bit longer, but if you keep that objective distance, it usually vanishes very quickly. But anyway, more about all that later. But that's more the deeper types of psychology, the Buddhist psychology. But it's very, very important about understanding the mind. But anyway, for those who are staying for the next couple of days, then we'll be talking about some of these things more and so on. But I just wanted to kind of give you a kind of a groundwork of really, what we're kind of trying to do here. But especially in the first few days of retreat, because you've brought all the stresses and anxiety of the street with you, it takes a few days to kind of shake those off. So the first days of any retreat for most people is a kind of a shakedown period where we're trying to just, let go of, that anger at the boss who, or a person who had insulted you, or whatever it might have been, or the worry about some medical test or something else, kind of let those types of thoughts go and to be able to just relax more into the present moment and just to, try to develop this basic mindfulness, concentration, and then wisdom. So there's 3 levels of meditation, what we call mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So mindfulness is the ability to just observe, impartially observe what is happening and develop present moment attention. And concentration is the ability to hold the attention for longer and longer without being distracted. and that increases the details and the depth of one's awareness. And out of that comes wisdom, this deeper level of understanding, like the scientist.
Insight.
Insights, what are called insights, because we're looking inside the mind rather than outside. Trying to analyze somebody else. We're all interested in wanting to analyze somebody else. Oh, that person's stupid. That person's this and this person that. We're trying to analyze ourselves first, or our mind, so to speak, or even this mind. So anyway, those are just some of the, really what meditation, at least from this Buddhist perspective, and insight meditation, often called Vipassana meditation, but really Vipassana meditation only starts when you've developed mindfulness and concentration to a certain level. But again, more about that later. So, so now if you have any questions about any of this, perhaps at the end of the day we'll have a time for some questions and answers, and for those who are staying over later, or staying over tonight, then we'll try to get a little questions and answers box, and with some slips of paper that you could write down any question that you might have about anything I might have been mentioning, or any other questions about the Dhamma, and without having to put your name on it or being identified who wrote it. Then I would try to answer those in the evening session, at the end of the evening session. Okay?
Sadhu.